Hi everybody, this is Dr. Swanson. This is the welcome or introductory video to COMM 466T, Current Topics in Public Relations. Our topic this semester is Mindfulness in Media and Public Relations. So I'm creating this short little video to tell you a little bit about what to expect in the course. And of course, after our first Zoom meeting, you'll have a much bigger picture of how things are going to unfold, but I want this video to serve as a little introduction so you know exactly where this course is going to go, and you can start thinking about what your role in it might be. First, let me tell you about the current topics course. We put different subject contents under the umbrella of current topics because it's easier for us to offer new cutting edge, I hate cliches, but cutting edge ideas this way. It takes about 2 years to bring a course into the curriculum from development and approval and all that. And by the time that 2 years goes about, the course could be a little bit stale. But current topics allows us to very quickly adjust topics to things that you're interested in and topics to things that are happening right now in the profession. And so that's what this course is. I developed the current topics course a few years ago. This is the first time we've taught it. So I'm excited about teaching this course, and I think that you and I, we will learn a lot together as we go through this course, because it'll be the first time for you and the first time for me as well. So I'll talk a little bit about what this is for you. The description is critique of mindful and mindless media strategies and portrayals, study of different secular mindfulness interventions allowing media professionals to mitigate stressful workplace ambiguity, drama, economic upheaval, and poor work-life balance. What does that all mean? Here's what it all means. We can easily teach you how to be a media content creator. We can teach you the concepts. We can teach you the buttons to push, and you can create media content. But we rarely, if ever, teach you how to think about the media content that you are creating. And as a consequence, people in public relations and advertising and broadcasting and different elements of communication, we tend to create this content and just kind of spew it out into the atmosphere, and we don't give a lot of thought about it. How mindful is it? How much are we contributing to a compassionate, productive, sustainable world? We also don't give a whole lot of thought to the way we work in an environment. How do we work as professionals in a way that is successful and productive, and yet as stress-free as possible? Media workplaces are notorious for stress and tension and disagreement, and that's because you have a lot of creative people working together in an environment, and nobody has really showed them how to work in a way where they are respectful of others, where they are mindful. And so these are the kinds of things we're going to talk about in here. We're going to talk about work-life balance. We're going to talk about social responsibility. We're going to talk about how you engage with a community, whether that community is your city or that community is the people that work in your office. How you engage mindfully with that community to be productive and at the same time not tearing yourself or others apart. Because again, the media environment can be very stressful, and we want to look for ways to mitigate that stress. A little bit about my background very quickly. I've worked in the media for many years. As a kid, I delivered newspapers and sold newspaper subscriptions. Went to college, worked in a radio station, DJ, talk show host, board operator, different things. Moved into television, worked for a few years in television, in TV news. Worked into public relations, where I was a copywriter in a public relations agency. I've done a lot of freelance work along the way, written a lot for the wire services. I've done some newspaper work. So I have a pretty extensive background in media organizations, and nowhere at no time did anybody give me any guidance about how to be mindful at work. In fact, it was very much the other direction. There was all kinds of guidance about how to not be mindful. My master's thesis in fact, dealt with negative reinforcement in TV newsrooms and how bosses use negative reinforcement to control people and grind out the product that they want to have created. And negative reinforcement creates a very mindless environment. It also drives creativity underground. Nobody wants to be creative in a negative reinforcement environment because everybody is running scared. And I've worked in a lot of different environments that were indeed quite negative and quite stressful. And so that part of that background of mine is the reason that I wanted to bring this class together, because I think we need to give more thought to the environments that we work in. And when you look at the public relations research, if you were to do a search for, public relations working environment, you come up with all of these articles and all of these studies that look at everything else except mindfulness. They look at how many people are in the workplace and what their tasks were and what was the supervisor's communication and all of these things kind of around the periphery, but they don't really look at the concept of mindfulness and how focused people were on the task at hand and how they were aware of what was going on right now in the present moment and how they avoided doing something on autopilot because we've always done it that way. We just keep doing it that way. Those kinds of studies don't look at those kinds of things. So there's a big blind spot in the research about mindfulness in public relations, and for that matter in all media fields. And I think it's just been in the past few years that people are starting to wake up and realize that. And so here we are. I think that you need to have that kind of guidance before you get out in the workplace, if for no other reason than to know what to expect out there in the working world. So we're going to talk about those things in here. We're going to talk about and do some writing about media content and whether it's mindful or mindless, the way media content is produced, the way people talk about their workplaces, and does the talking about your workplace create an unpleasant environment? Here's the book for this class. It's called Fearless at Work. This is a really good book. It, as the cover says, it's for awakening confidence, resilience, and creativity in the face of life's demands. And there are very few professions that are more demanding than the public relations and media professions. They are tremendously demanding. And so you've got to find a way to insulate yourself from that. And that doesn't mean hide from it. That means work effectively in this environment without going crazy. And so we'll talk about that. I do want to again reinforce the idea that this is a secular mindfulness course. We're not teaching spirituality. We're not teaching religion. We're teaching mindfulness as a strategy for dealing with the pressures that you face in the workplace, or for that matter, mindfulness in dealing with the media content that comes at you as a consumer. When is the last time somebody helped you be mindful about the media content you were absorbing as a consumer? That just doesn't happen. And so we're going to talk about that in here also. If you look at the syllabus, there's a lot of interesting topic areas we're dealing with. We're going to look at some of the basic tenets of mindfulness. We're going to look at communication theories and frameworks that apply to this. We're going to talk a lot about the media workplace and the realities of that workplace. We're going to talk about mindfulness and productivity. Is mindfulness just another way to be productive? There's a relationship there, but it shouldn't be. Mindfulness shouldn't be just a way to become productive. We're going to talk about intervention strategies. We're going to talk about different ways to measure mindfulness. I just did a national study that was published on the mindfulness of public relations practitioners and students, and there are some amazing similarities between the mindful and mindless ways of PR professionals and PR students. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about traditional and social media. We will talk about what is corporate responsibility to create a mindful workplace for you. So I hope that you find all of these topics interesting. As I say, this is going to be a class to help you understand media content out there, as well as how you as a consumer absorb that media content and how you can work successfully in a workplace and maintain your level of mindfulness even when others around you do not. So please take a look at the syllabus, take a look at the assignments that we have. You will see there are no tests per se in this class. We have a midterm and a final, but they are both reflection-oriented assignments. We're going to have some graduate students in here, and mostly undergraduates, but a couple of graduate students. So I think this is going to be a really good opportunity for us to learn a lot and learn from each other. And I have some supplementary readings that go along with the textbook. The supplementary readings just scratch the surface of what is out there right now, because the literature in mindfulness has just developed dramatically over the past few years. But I think you'll find some really interesting readings, and you'll come away from this class with some really good ideas that you can apply in your career and perhaps in your personal life to be more mindful in your approach to things every day. So that's my story for right now. I thank you very much for watching this video, and I look forward to beginning our interactions on the first day of class. Until then, take care.